have school. It is dark outside, it is Halloween. Hello, welcome to Halloween. The hydrangea flower makes a beautiful paper bloom, and I'm going to show you how I create this by using a foam in the center or some wire. And then I'm going to show you how to take these beautiful flowers when they're finished and put them into arrangements. The first thing that you'll need are the templates for the hydrangea, and I have here a template that you can use. You can hand cut these, or there's an SVG cut file that you can use to cut them out on your paper. We have the leaves as well, or you can also use this punch, and this is a punch that was created by Fiskars for me, and it makes this beautiful, easy to cut hydrangea that's pretty much the same shape. So there's 3 different methods, and you can go find all of these on our site at leahgriffith.com. So here I have cut some hydrangea petals from 3 different colors. I wanted to create a little bit more of that dried hydrangea fall feel for this arrangement, and then I have some leaves cut out as well. So the first thing that I will do is I'm going to use my curling tool. Now, if you don't have a curling tool, you can use the edge of your scissors. This again is the Leah Griffith brand from Fiskars, and you can find a link for that below. And what I'll do is just run each little petal on the edge of the tool, and you want to be careful not to go too hard because you will rip petals off. If you do, that's okay, you can glue them back on. So you want it to look something like this. You want the shape of the paper. I think the shape of any sort of paper flower is what really makes it come alive. So the thing about, making the hydrangea, it is time consuming, but it is very simple. So if you want to sit down and do these while you're having a conversation with a friend, or maybe watching your favorite series on TV, this is a good way to pass the time, and before you know it, these will all be curled. You can find the exact paper that I'm using in the link below, and you might notice that it curls really easily, and that's because it's a text weight paper rather than a cardstock. I find that cardstock doesn't give such a softness when you curl it. It actually might bend a little bit more. So I always prefer this text weight paper, and a couple of these colors, the blue and the pink, are actually a frosted. The green is not, it has a little bit of a speckle in it. I just love this color so much that I thought I would add it into this palette to give me my complete look for fall. What I have here is a fairly large foam ball that I've cut with a knife. You can go with smaller balls, and as you can see in this arrangement, we used a variety of different balls, and these are cut in half, where in this one, we use the full ball without cutting anything. So it really depends on what you're creating, on how you want to handle it. But one of the things that I really do like to do is cover the ball, whether it be, this is crepe paper, you could do that, or you can see on this flower, where it's covered with tissue paper, and it's almost like a Mod Podge effect where it's glued on in layers to cover the foam ball there. Or you can also spray paint it. I think that this works really well. It's a no mess. Just cover it with the crepe paper. I don't mind that it's a little bit different color, because that will pop through and just add a bit more of a dimension, and I love that. So I've covered the ball, and all I need to do, very simple, is bring out my hot glue gun, add just a touch of glue onto the back, and then place it onto the ball. And I'll want to bend the petals up as I do so that I can get those in pretty snug, and you just keep doing that. For this arrangement, I want a variety of colors, so I'll just mix, do one of each color and just keep going like that. Again, make it nice and snug and make sure the petals are squished together. The one thing that I don't like about using the foam ball is it makes the arrangement a little bit flatter, and it doesn't have the dips and the bumps that a real hydrangea might have, but it does create a beautiful shape, and I think when you do something like this and put it on a wreath, that really works. So once this is covered, what I would do is bring in this foam wreath form, and you can hot glue these on, or you can use wire pins, or you can wire them on. You can create a wire pin through and stick it or wrap it. And I like to arrange them on different levels, as you can see here. Once these are all glued on or wired on, you'll want to take your leaves and place them in between. And you can also go to the back and then just cover the whole back with leaves, especially if you're hanging this on a door that has glass. You want to make sure that the back is finished as well. So that is a very easy method on how to make a hydrangea. The pattern that you find for this hydrangea is more of a middle-sized pattern, but you can make them smaller, or even this jumbo larger size, just by adjusting the pattern. Another method of creating a hydrangea bloom is to use this wire as a stem, and you can see how it looks in these 2 bridal bouquets. where, you know, a foam ball just wouldn't work because it would show from behind and it would be a little bit more bulky. And this gives a more natural look. You can tuck flowers between, leaves between, and this is how I do it. I have 16 pieces of wire. Now you can go with more wire if you want to. I prefer about 16 to 20 for each bundle, and then I just might make more bundles, and that way I can place those throughout the bouquet. So what I'll do is I've packed them together. This is actually a 24 gauge wire, and I wouldn't go too heavy on your wire because it's harder to bend, and you'll see why in just a second. And I'm going to measure with my imagination here. I have about, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 3.5, 4 inches. Then I will take my floral tape and I'll just tightly wrap from about 4 inches down all the way down to the end. And remember, once that you have your floral wire wrapped, you'll have to use some pretty heavy duty wire cutters to cut this. So if you want it shorter, you might want to start by cutting it first, or just get some very heavy duty wire cutters, which I like to always keep on hand. Once you wrap this with the floral tape, you can go back over and wrap it again if you feel like it needs to be more secure, but that feels pretty good to me. And I like this because it still bends. You know, the 24 gauge wire is fairly light, and it's not something that I would use for a big flower, but when you bundle them together, it works really nicely. Now I'm going to splay these out, and I'm making almost a half dome with my wire, so I might go, you know, all the way down to a 45-degree angle, and then just bring them up at different angles to fill in the gaps. Now when I've made my first hydrangea this way, I was trying to figure out a new method and I couldn't find anything out there. So this was the first one I did, and I just glued my paper right to those tips. It was a good idea, but not quite there. So what I figured out is that if I take my needle nose pliers, which I love a good pair of needle nose pliers, and go in and just bend a loop on every single wire and then bend it back so it's flat. Can you see that there? And that way you're creating a flat surface to glue your flower onto, and you'll want to make them fairly small because you'll have just a little tiny space in between those 4 petals of the hydrangea cut out to glue onto this wire. And wire's kind of tiny, so we're going to put the glasses on. And you can go in and bend this a bit tighter if it seems like it's too wide. So what we're doing here is we're building the first layer of structure. Even though I only have 16 pieces of wire, I'm actually going to be putting on quite a few more of the petals, and I'll show you how I do that. So I've bent all of the ends of the wires, and I'm ready to glue the flowers onto the wire. I like to use the hot glue gun with a high temperature because I know that they'll stay. And what I'll want to do is get enough glue on the back of these so that it fills that space in the middle of my curl. And you can move your wires around as you're gluing these on if you want to. I'm also using a paper covered wire, so that actually helps keep the glue in position versus just a metal wire. Once you have all of your hydrangeas in place on every single one of these wires, you'll let the glue cool off so that it doesn't pop off, and then go back and just bend your petals upwards so that we're going to make room for more. And what I discovered was, rather than have more wire and make it really heavy and bulky, what works well is to use the petal to glue on another and just kind of fill in the gaps by adding petal to petal. So the trick here is petal to the metal and then petal to petal, right? I think we should make a song out of that. So I'm putting glue just on the edge of the curl, and I'm placing it up to the edge of another curl of another petal, and then having it connect to at least one more petal. So I usually think 2 is fine, 3 is good, 1's probably not secure enough because it might sort of hang. And you just keep doing that, you just keep adding petals. And it's amazing how fast this will fill out. And as you're doing this, you'll want to have some variation in height. So you do want things to kind of be fluid and not really flat. And that's partly what makes this so easy. So you'll just keep going and add more petals until you feel like you're complete. If you feel like you wanted a smaller bloom and you can see there's still gaps, what you can do is just bend that in at that point and then call that good, or leave it out and just fill it in. So that's the method that I love to use. This is one of my favorites. With every flower, I do like to include some leaves and some greenery. So I've made these hydrangea leaves, and all I'll do is fold them in half. And then with my curling tool, I'll give them a bit of a shape. If you don't have a curling tool, you can use the edge of your scissors. And I'll go ahead and do the whole pile. And once I'm done, I can either put them on wires and tuck them behind my bouquet, or if you're making a wreath, you can glue them around your wreath and behind your wreath to give it that finished look. So here are a few different ideas of how you can create a look with a hydrangea. If you're using the foam ball method, a topiary is always a cute idea, and of course, the wreath is a winner all year round. If you're using the wire method, you can simply take your finished blooms and put them in a vase, and that is absolutely gorgeous. But then again, hydrangeas are a favorite for weddings, so look at them inside of these different wedding bouquets. It's just stunning. You can follow the links below to get all of the patterns and templates for the leaves and the hydrangeas, and that will take you over to our site at leahgriffith.com, where you can find the step-by-step tutorials for all of the arrangements that I've made today. Remember to click the subscribe button below so that you can be the first to watch our weekly craft schools. And when you make your projects, hashtag Made with Leah, so that we can take a peek and we can share them on our channels as well.